I knew something was off the second I saw it. My front door wasn't shut properly. It hung slightly open, moving back and forth with the breeze like it was inviting trouble in. And just like that, the feeling hit me again. Not surprise, not confusion, but recognition. This had happened before. Karen had done it again. She had the nerve, the absolute audacity, to unlock my door and walk in as if my house was some kind of shared clubhouse she had unrestricted access to. This wasn't new behavior. The last time she let herself in, she casually dropped an HOA violation notice on my coffee table, like it was a receipt from a hotel stay. Another time, she wandered to my living room, examined my curtains, and labeled them a public nuisance, like she was some kind of interior design police. But this time was different. This time, she wasn't going to find the same exhausted homeowner who had been quietly tolerating her nonsense. Because on the other side of that door stood my son, fresh back from deployment, silent, steady, and unshakable in his full Marine uniform. Karen had walked into my house many times before, but this time she was about to walk straight into something she couldn't bully, couldn't manipulate, and definitely couldn't unlock her way past. Before I go further, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from and what time is it there? Because if you've ever dealt with an HOA, you might already know exactly the kind of story this is. I wish I could say this was the first time Karen crossed a line, that maybe she was just overenthusiastic or confused or misunderstood her role. But no, this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern, a routine violation of my privacy so bold and so shameless that even the raccoons living in my attic showed more respect for boundaries than she did. The first time it happened, I didn't even realize what had occurred. I came home from work, unlocked the door, and stepped inside like any normal day. But sitting right there on my kitchen counter was a bright pink slip, HOA violation notice. Big, bold letters accusing me of improperly stored garden hoses. Now here's the thing. My garden hose was neatly coiled, hung perfectly on a rack, cleaner and more organized than the tangled mess of cords Karen had behind her own house. But that wasn't what bothered me. What bothered me was where the notice was placed. Not on the door, not in the mailbox. Inside, on my counter, as if she had walked right in, taken a tour, and made herself comfortable in my air conditioning. I stood there, confused at first, scratching my head. Maybe I had left the door unlocked. It was possible. But deep down, something didn't sit right. The second time removed all doubt. I walked into my own house, and there she was, standing in my living room like she belonged there, clipboard in hand, scribbling notes like she was conducting an inspection of a rental property. She looked up at my curtains and declared, "These violate the community aesthetic," like she was handing down a verdict. I asked her how she got in. She didn't hesitate. She just held up a small silver key, almost proudly. "The HOA has master keys for inspections," she said. Inspections? This wasn't some apartment complex she managed. This was my home, my space, my sanctuary, and yet she treated it like a cheap motel she could check into whenever she pleased. After that, the whole situation turned almost absurd. It hadn't been so infuriating. I'd noticed little signs she'd been there. A coffee mug moved slightly out of place. Mail shifted just enough to make you question your memory. Once, I even caught the lingering scent of her perfume drifting down the hallway. My wife was terrified. Every creak in the house made her jump. Every sound at night made her wonder if Karen was about to appear out of nowhere with another violation notice in hand. Of course, I tried to do things the right way. I went to the HOA board. But guess who ran the board? Karen, president, surrounded by her loyal little circle of clipboard-carrying followers who nodded along to everything she said. Every time I brought up the issue, she'd just smirk and respond with that same rehearsed line. "As long as you're a resident of this community, the HOA reserves the right to ensure compliance." Compliance? To critique my throw pillows? To inspect my pantry? To decide how my house should feel? The neighbors knew what was going on. They whispered about it, but nobody wanted to speak up. One family down the street tried. They ended up buried under fines for everything from lawn height to garage clutter. When they pushed back, Karen escalated things until liens were placed on their property. She ruled like a tiny dictator, armed not with weapons, but with bylaws. And somehow, it was just as destructive. I even tried changing my locks. Didn't matter. One day, I came home and found they had been replaced again. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just entitlement. Karen genuinely believed she had the authority to enter my home whenever she wanted. Legal, moral, maybe even divine in her mind. And the violations kept coming. Pink slips, notes, even photos. One time she left a Polaroid in my front porch chair, claiming it was unsightly because it was slightly darker than the approved beige. I joked with my wife that one day Karen would start measuring our shoelaces. She didn't laugh because it wasn't funny anymore. This wasn't just annoying, it was harassment, intimidation, trespassing, all wrapped up in a polished HOA badge of authority. The worst part? She acted like she was doing us a favor, like she was saving the neighborhood. She'd wave her clipboard around like it was law itself and challenge anyone to question her. I thought about calling the sheriff more than once. I even had my hand on the phone a few times. But then I remembered the neighbors who had tried and how it always ended the same way. Civil matter. Neighborhood dispute. Nothing done. Karen knew exactly how far she could push things without crossing the line, at least in a way that stuck. But something inside me knew this couldn't go on. A man should feel safe in his own home, not like he's waiting for someone to walk in and count the magnets on his refrigerator. And that's when I hit my breaking point. Right around the same time, my son came home, fresh from deployment, stronger than ever, calmer, sharper. Next time she walked through my door, the kind of presence that fills a room without saying a word. The moment I told him everything, every single detail, he didn't laugh, didn't brush it off, didn't minimize it. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Dad, she won't get away with that again." And for the first time in months, I believed it, because Karen thought she was untouchable. But she had no idea what was waiting for her the next time she walked through my door.